Hi, this is Amy of the Battles fan site, battlesatlas.com. I'm here to do a fanterview with the band. It's an interview by a fan for the fans. So guys, introduce yourselves, please.
I'm Ian T. Williams.
Davey Kanaka.
John Stanier.
Okay, so how's the tour been going so far?
Well, guys, it's been going pretty well, I think.
Favorite city so far? Favorite highlight?
Dallas.
You played with Shabazz Palaces, though.
Tonight's show was the best show.
Tell me about Shabazz Palaces. How did that come about?
We asked them to do a remix for us, and then we met them. I forget where we met them. We met them at some festival somewhere. New Orleans? No.
That was at Primavera.
Oh, okay. We met them in
A couple
Spain.
months ago.
And asked them. No, we originally met them way before that at a festival in the U.S. Remember?
San Francisco.
Treasure Island.
Right, first we
They
met
already
in San
did
Francisco.
They already did the remix for us.
They already did a remix. We met them in San Francisco after that. And then, ironically, I got the number of their then manager. And then I texted him, and I didn't get a response. Like when we played Seattle, and then we played Seattle again. I texted him, and I didn't get a response. I was just like, wow, I guess these guys are mad at us for some reason or something. And then we just ran into them 3 months ago in Spain, in Primavera. And they were like, oh yeah, that guy, like he immediately after that stopped working with us. So it was funny that we thought that they were like didn't want to have anything to do with us for some bizarre reason or something, but they were like, no, it's just because of their manager. So, and then we asked them to perform the song they did with us live in Seattle, and it was great.
Okay. So thinking back to the band name, I read an interview with Dave, actually, where you said that, I know y'all considered a couple different names, but you said that the name came from Ian seeing the movie Bring It On, and he was talking about cheerleader battles. Was that a joke, or were you serious?
That's a true story. I think there was something about like when we were practicing back then. You saw Bring It On, and battles came into the picture.
Well, Bring It On featured sort of in an early version of the band, but the name was actually from there was an MIT student created an algorithm that generated all the potential band names that have never been used in the world. And this is like in 2002 now.
Okay.
And I remember going through looking at it was a huge list, and I had only gotten through all the A's. It was alphabetical. And I started to get to the beginning of the B's. It was like battle, and I think I said battlefield. I thought battles.
Okay. So you have a BEP, you have an EPC. Was there ever an EPA or anything like a demo, unreleased, early work that might see the light of day sometime?
No, there wasn't. There was just a single. Tross was the first thing that was. There was like around the time that
Sorry, Pastor, I'm Ryan, the promoter tonight. I was just looking for Bobby. Y'all seen him anywhere?
He's on our bus actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, that's good.
It was when we were first starting, and we, instead of just like coming out with an album like this is who we are, we tested out like releasing an EP on the West Coast and an EP on the East Coast, and then a single with another friend of ours. It's Dimmock is with BEP, did BEP. Monitor Records did EPC, and Cold Sweat Records did the single for Tross. And so it was like this little test of trying out smaller markets and like spreading, it's like a soft release of battles into the world. But I think just we operated with a lot of like silent code, like our own internal codes back then.
Okay.
Yeah,
Kind of like the idea of epic. There was this like if you add the vowels that are missing, EBC.
Yeah, because the titles on the EPs were all sort of codes like SC2 or like we had full words behind them, but we would just sort of reduce it to a code. So the titles like EPC was Epic Battles, because actually the very first couple battle shows, the very first one it was called Debut Battles. That was the first show we ever played. We opened for the Savvy Fab on December 19th, 2002. Because I was walking down the street in Williamsburg and I saw Sid from the Savvy Fab. And he said, what are you doing? I said, oh, doing this new music project thing. And he said, you guys want to open for the Savvy Fab at the Christmas concert we're doing or whatever in Brooklyn? And I was like, yeah, okay. And that was like a week away from the show or something. So it was like debut battles. So the second show we ever played, we were actually called The Battles, Deux. It was sort of a Chicago-esque French word because it was like doubles, but it was like two battles.
Yeah.
And so we were sort of playing with these code variations of words, and so there was like EPC was sort of like epic battles, and then BEP was like beep because we made the sound beep a lot.
Okay, so it didn't have anything to do with it being B, C.
But it was like a B. It was B and it was
But
C.
yeah.
And A was the unannounced A, which was the truss signal.
Okay.
The very first thing that ever came out was the truss signal,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
The 12-inch. And then B and C came out as the EPs. So there was a sort of understated ABC to the whole thing. But it was all obscure.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe purposefully not laying down the cards because we were sort of, as Dave was describing, trying to have a come into focus to the world slowly. So, like, rather than making a big statement like, here's an album, and here it is. Because we didn't want it to come across the way because we wanted time to sort of find our own voice. And we wanted people to come to us if they wanted to listen to us rather than us go to them.
So, in terms of finding your own voice, the EPs were totally instrumental, but then what made you decide to start using vocals on Mirrored?
Well, I think that, yeah, the EPs were instrumental. And then, well, yeah, so then finally, I think, because Ty used to beatbox, and so I was always into the idea of him trying to beatbox with the music and stuff like that. And then, I think the beatbox thing sort of evolved a little bit more into like a singing thing. I remember that song Alice we had, it was a shuffle. Like, that was a song that we actually had jammed on in the practice space for a couple of years. Always based on this idea that John had for doing like a German shuffle techno kind of thing. And then, one day kind of Ty came in with this vocal line for that, and we all thought it was really cool. So.
Okay. Now, conversely, you've switched now back to being completely instrumental. What was the impetus for that? John? You have anything?
Why are you asking me?
Because I saw an interview where you were talking about how it wasn't something deliberate, right?
Well, we didn't have a like this big sit down meeting beforehand saying like let's make an instrumental record. It was more like let's just keep writing. Let's just see what happens. Maybe there will be vocals. Maybe there won't be vocals. And at the end of all that, there weren't vocals. So
Okay.
it's kind of as simple as that, I think, in my opinion.
Okay. Now I want to ask about the line.
I think like when we first started and coming out of the bands, more particularly like Ian and I, we were instrumental. We came from instrumental bands and we were like math rock bands, and I think like we were trying to shed some of that a little bit and like trying to play a little bit more lively, danceable, fun music and not so like serious and chin strokey. But somehow like none of us decided to have vocals ever. It just started happening. And so it just became part of who we were, and then we were writing Gloss Drop, and we had a breakup with Ty, and we had some songs that we had some vocals reserved for, so we included guest vocalists in Gloss Drop. But for this album, like enough time has passed where we're away from like our history as instrumental math rock fans, and more music is more instrumental, like with the techno scene or dance music, or it's more applicable to like the listening formats and new mediums for us to maybe make a new instrumental album and not be so like pretentiously perceived to be like pretentious like math rock like instrumental band, So I think it's just kind of like the timing was right to try it out again. No, there was no huge like no deeply seated meaning for having an instrumental.
Now for the line, I heard the story was that the producers of Twilight didn't like the original version, so they had you redo it. Is that correct?
Well, we read into it too much, and we were too cinematic.
It
Okay.
was way too scripted. They sent us the footage. We
Yeah.
wrote along to the footage, and it was way too like hyper scripted.
So my question is there a different version of it that exists, and is that something that might be heard someday, or has it already been recycled into something else?
I think what happened is we actually sort of, I think we made that song The Line, and they were like, "There's gonna be singing in it because it's like whatever a commercial movie." So there was some vocals, and then they go, "Oh, actually, we need it. Can you do something else?" And they gave us like this. Then they gave us the scene to script the music to, and then we made a completely different piece of music that was like cinematic movie music, because we can sort of do that sort of thing. And then they go, "Oh, actually, no, we still sort of want a pop song." So then and at that point, we had already sort of tried. I mean, because we were supposed to be making our own album at that point, Gloss Drop, and we were kind of like, we've kind of almost done what we can. And then last minute they're like, "Oh, we'll use The Line like the first song."
I don't even know what happened with that. They were like, "Here's the thing. It's in the movie kind of, but not really. But you guys will be on the bonus track, like for the CD or whatever." To answer your question, I reused my bass line from the original version of The Line and readapted it for my machines.
Oh, cool. Okay. Now, I read something really interesting lately, which is that you guys employed female backup singers in your early days. Is that true?
That
Like,
was Bring It On.
Oh, okay. So what did they sing? Was it in the EP days? Like, did they sing work?
In fact, it's funny tonight that this is the gig, because we're playing with Buchan Gase, and the singer of Buchan Gase, Aaron, was actually one of those singers for a set.
So was it?
But it was very disorganized.
Were there lyrics to anything on the EPs, or what were they singing?
If you listen, there's actually female voice. There's like ah 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 ah. I think that's on the song B and T.
Okay.
There's some of that, and there's a little bit of like hey, ah, ah. There's just like some yelling.
Okay, cool. Now, I also read that on the Gloss Drop tour, Matthias Aguayo, I hope I'm saying that correctly, was originally going to go on tour with you guys to be the singer. Was he going to sing just Ice Cream, or was he going to sing like all the songs?
He sort of was supposed to do a lot. That was a crazy time because we finished the record.
That was a tiny idea that's not even worth even really.
Okay. Now, a reviewer suggested that after Ty left the band that you had to drop vocals from a lot of Gloss Drop tracks. But was that true, or were they always meant to be instrumentals, those instrumentals?
Who said that?
It was just, I saw a review recently that said that a lot of the tracks on Gloss Drop that were instrumental were originally supposed to have vocals.
No.
And I didn't think that
No,
sounded right.
The tracks that had vocals were the tracks that were carved out for vocals. Everything else was
Okay.
rewritten.
Now, I want to talk about the artwork briefly.
Even the tracks that had vocals were rewritten, but it just wasn't good.
Okay.
So it was we needed to kind of start from scratch
Yeah.
with that whole thing. So, yeah,
Okay.
we already had like that album was going to be 3/4 instrumental anyways.
Okay. I want to talk to you, Dave, about the artwork because, it seems to me that it always kind of reflects your process as a band because, like, the covers of the EPs being, like, this minimalistic nature scenery, and you talked about the band had formed organically and then mirrored, like, being a complete 180 to this, like, industrial-looking cover. And then Gloss Drop being, like, a blob that you said was something that couldn't be controlled, like, the band member leaving couldn't be controlled. So how does that bring us to Lottie Dottie with being, like, this breakfast food being arranged? How does that reflect the band's process?
Well, it's just like a combination of different ideas and how they get forced into being this finished product. But it was more like of what I was working with, just like in my any art that I was making in my real life, my fake life. Is this my real life or is my other life my real life? The other part of my life, and then. I liked the idea of if you like the way that you just described it, going from organic to plastic to this convex room to a concave blob of pink shit. And a lot of people thought that that pink shit was like stuff you could eat, but it's highly toxic. So I like the idea of like taking off from there and moving on to food. And I started like doing stuff with that with like towards the end of Gloss Drop, so it was kind of like a natural progression.
Mm-hmm.
But it was more for like just like having like a medium that people can understand, and like it was interesting. It could be like kind of perceived as humorous, and like with a banana bone and a watermelon, or just like a hot dog covered in spaghetti. Just all stuff that kind of doesn't really go together, but when if you force it enough, you can create something that makes sense.
Okay. What is the Yabba?
It is.
John can tell you that.
It's from a recently found lost Australian movie from the 70s called Wake and Fright.
That's what I thought.
That was re-released about a year ago, I think. And the Yabba is the abbreviation of the fictional town somewhere in the outback in the middle.
Okay.
But it's absolutely 100% about the movie.
That's what I thought. I found it on Wikipedia. Okay. Now, I have a few questions from fans on the message board. Okay. So, Bozo Jazz wants to know if there were any recorded B-sides that didn't make it onto La Di Da Di, and whether we might hear those, like if there might be a single with a B-side on it. Were there any B-sides from La Di Da Di that didn't make it onto the album?
There was, I think, a few things that we avoided. But that's kind of like to say, if it's a thing that you sort of gave up on or decided it wasn't working, I don't know if you could then go, oh, we did have a song that didn't make it. Like, that might have been, like, until it crosses the finish line, I don't know if you can say it's a song.
Okay.
Yeah, we kind of don't like. We really get into making an album based on like this step-by-step process, and so it's not like that song's done. Push it aside. Let's make another song. We got to make 15 of these, and only 12 of them we're gonna make. So there's like a lot of extra stuff that I think like Ian and I have compiled, and so it's like we always have extra shit, but it just never makes it to a song, or it gets recontextualized to a song. What's the funny? What?
Okay. Johnny Laundry wants to know if you're ever going to release a live DVD or perhaps a longer director's cut of The Art of Repetition.
I don't know, maybe.
Okay, fair enough.
We're talking to Scorsese about trying to do one of those Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah. Okay.
By the time we're like old and interesting enough for that to happen, it'll probably have to be his daughter.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be more like Raging Bull.
Okay. Bozo and Johnny both want to know about any projects that individual members are working on.
Those two people, there's only two people.
No, there's more. There's a couple
Tell
more.
Bozo and Johnny to stop hogging all the questions.
Yeah. So any individual projects, like Ian, are you going to release any of your solo work? Or they want to know, Dave specifically, are you a food photographer? Is that like a hobby of yours? They specifically asked about that.
No, because my friend Leslie's the photographer. I just make the art.
Yeah.
Ian's solo project is called Bozo and Johnny. It's really weird that Bozo and Johnny are asking.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of vetted if you ask me.
Okay.
Wait, don't you want an answer to those questions?
Well, I don't know. You guys joke around so much, it's hard to tell.
We're not joking.
Okay, so Bozo and Johnny, when is that going to be released?
I'm taking my time on doing these alternative musical outlets, and by the time there's anything worthwhile being released, I'll put things out.
Okay. Now this question comes from Johnny Laundry again. He asks, are Ty and Dave's parts on Gloss Drop really deleted forever, or do versions of these songs with him still exist in a vault somewhere?
They are really deleted. They didn't exist in the first place.
Oh, they didn't. Okay. Okay. Sweeney, this is a good one. Sweeney McDouche wants to know if you were thinking about.
That's Dave's solo project.
Yeah.
This, you guys,
That's
this
my
is.
food photographer name.
Oh wow. Okay. So he wants to know.
Move the potato near the carrot. How many times must I say?
Were you thinking about how you would play La Di Da Di live while you were writing the album, or did you have to scramble at the end to learn how to play it live?
Well, Sweeney McDouche, when we are in the studio, we're thinking about making the best songs possible, and then we worry about playing those songs.
Okay. He also says that it seems like it's relatively easy skill to keep it interesting every time. So he wants to know, how do you manage to keep the loops sounding fresh on every record?
It's like probably a big question with a big answer behind it.
Okay.
You know, like. How do you keep life interesting?
All right, well then we'll move on to the last question. Bozo Jazz wants to know, are there going to be any future EPs between records, like putting out music more frequently, although, you know, this is battles we're talking about, so.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, you know, I mean, 4 years might be frequent for you guys, but for the fans, it's a little bit long to wait for new music, so no offense.
For the fans, it might be a little bit long, but doesn't it feel so good once it gets there?
It does.
If you heard from us every year, you would be sick of us.
Not every year, maybe every 2 years or every 2.5 years.
EPs are stupid. Okay? I used to love EPs. I used to think that EPs, I love the way that we released music for the first time ever as two EPs. But EPs in between albums are just kind of like, especially today, it's just a bunch of fucking garbage. Doesn't matter who's putting it out. It's just like some, this is just some dumb shit that I didn't think was good enough to be on the album, which could be great. It could be a great song, but I just don't think that it's worth doing. Wow, that was a super honest answer.
Okay,
That was
no,
like-
fair enough.
I do. I fucking hate it. It's like you see like a band release like something and it's like, oh, here's the full length, and then a couple months later it's like, hey, don't forget about us. Here's an EP.
Mm-hmm.
See, the thing is, you know, like, if you want us to at least tour for like a good solid year to get a chance to play at least once in every city in the world that would be interested in having us, then that's a year. And like, we can't, you know, here we are, we're backstage, we can't have band practice back here. So then the next year we have to write the record. Because the thing is, even once we turn the record into the record label doesn't release it then. They say thank you, and then they say, now within the next year from now, what day shall we release it? What day will be the optimum time for us to release your record? So it's like, even when we finish the record, it's going to still take another 8 months to come out.
Yeah, like we were actually trying to get this album out in June, and it was Warp's call to like wait until September.
Okay.
And EPs in general, like EPs are fine. I think that if you can put together, I take it back. EPs aren't stupid. I think that if you have a couple of EPs that are cohesive as a series, it could be a really cool thing. But generally speaking, an EP is an afterthought, and it doesn't equate to anything for us. It's like it's actually a poor. It's a waste. We end up eating shit on it. It's a waste of money.
So on a happy note to end the interview, what are you looking forward to on the rest of this tour? Like, are you going to bring back any old favorites or?
Eating shit.
Always the best from you, Dave. Are you going to bring back any old favorites or add any new songs to set? I know you guys don't have any much time to rehearse new stuff during the tour, but
Yeah, I think we're going to change the setup and add some oldies and goodies. That's the plan.
okay.
I think just because we've been touring the U.S. now for 2 weeks, I guess, and just ironing out a few kinks. But I think hopefully we're getting past those things, and now we're gonna.
Just to be clear, when Ian says kinks, he doesn't mean we're not going to do like a cover of Waterloo Sunset or anything.
Okay.
No, the Kinks.
Right.
They were a band that.
I've heard of them.
What about you? What's going on with the harpsichord? We had no idea you were such.
Oh.
No.
No,
Were you just gonna? Did you shut that off?
No, I didn't. I actually have it here. Do you guys read music? Can you read music?
Right.
No, I
I
can't.
used to be able to read music. I can sort of. Yeah.
This is it.
Oh my
What?
god.
That's my. Did you not see it?
You did high and low
Transcribe.
Did you see the whole thing
I did, yeah.
on YouTube? Did you see the whole thing or just the?
Yeah, it was wicked.
Did you see it, John?
I didn't see the whole thing.
Oh. That's it. That's what hello looks like on keyboard. All right.
You wrote all this out?
Thanks, Battles, for the interview. Thank you for your time.
Amy, thank you.
You guys are awesome.
And thank you to the Baddest Atlas, the Battles Atlas. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Battles fans.
People that are interested in us.
Thank you. Have a great show. Welcome to Texas.
Thanks for having us in Texas.